Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. So today is going to be replacing the oil pan gasket. You can see she's quite wet. We're gonna do the oil pan gasket. I was gonna put a new drain plug in it since that one's partially rounded, if you can see it, from the Jiffy Lubes. That's what the sticker was that was in it. So first, all right, the first thing we're going to want to do is go ahead and remove all the stuff that's bolted to the side. We have the harness slash transcooler lines with a 10 mil headed bolt here. Then there's also a 10 mil bolt on this side of the wire harness crossover at the front. So we'll take both of those out. And I forgot to mention, I've already drained the oil, took the oil filter off, and disconnected the negative battery cable since we're going to pull the starter, at least move it out of the way. Where's it at? There it is. All right, we have a 10 mil here. And one right here. We get a different socket. Grab the swivel socket. Now that harness is out of the way, and we'll grab the last 10 holding this wire crossover on the front. Now you can see the wire harness is hanging, which that'll be fine. We might just go ahead and disconnect the, I believe that's a knock sensor on the driver's side. Go and disconnect that, and then all this will just hang out of the way. We can just like take a wire tie or a bungee cord or something and just tie it back out of the way. All right, to unplug said knock sensor, take this heat shield and we'll just pull it down out of the way like so, and then depress the tab and unplug it. And as you can see, it's just literally as you press it, it releases from the sensor, and then we'll just go ahead and tie this back up out of the way. All right, the next thing we're gonna do is go ahead and unbolt the starter. We don't necessarily take the wires off, we just want to get it out of the way enough to get the shield out. They're 13 millimeter bolts, and they're best to loosen by hand unless you're using a 1/2 inch impact. So we got them loose. I'll grab my 3/8 impact. Just like so. If all goes well, we should be able to slide this back. You're going to rub against the knock sensor on this side, but you can do just like that and just let her hang out. It's fine on the wires, it's not going to hurt it. So we'll do that, and then there's a 10 mil bolt here and up right next to the starter up top. Take both of those out. They're 10 mil headed bolts. That one's loose. Then we'll kind of move the starter a little bit. Maybe. There we go. Just like that. And then the last bolt is going to be a 15 right here. Once we take that out, we'll be able to take the shield out of the way. All right, got our 15. Just like that, and then now the shield, I'm gonna wiggle it out, just like that. All right, now there's a 15 mil bolt on the lower part of the oil pan through the trans bell housing here. We'll take that out. And then we'll go ahead and take off these little rubber insulators. There's a 10 mil bolt under each of these for the oil pan. Best thing I found is like some lineman pliers or something. I wouldn't use needle nose. And Just be gentle with it and work it, because it is rubber. And they might tear, no big deal. I'm not really sure why they use this style, but these are oil soaked. And you just want to work it little by little, like that. Do that with the other one. And like that one, like I said, sometimes they do tear. Alright, so what I ended up doing with the one plug is I just shoved it up in to the bell housing so we can get the bolt out. Once the oil pan's out, we can pick that out. Now we need to take off this cross member here. There's 18mm headed nuts and bolts on both sides. So we'll loosen them up and then get a power tool to assist the rest of the way. Now we'll just go ahead and get these out. All right, and now your best friend to get this out is going to be a pry bar. Stick it up here at the control arm, and you just start working it. Now, if you're doing it on the ground and you get this like this, you'll be able to get the oil pan out, but it just kind of makes it a little tricky when you're trying to go straight up with the oil pan. So now we're ready to take all the oil pan bolts out. All right, we're going to go ahead and start with the 10 mils that are back here. Get a flashlight. Actually, I'm sorry, they're not 10mm bolts in there. The 4.3s have 13mm nuts and there's studs back there, so I apologize for that. There's one side. And there's the other nut. And now we'll just start going around and taking out the remaining 13mm bolts. Now let's make sure you guys can see too. Just tilt you up a little bit more. Like that. Oh. All right. All right, sorry about that. The phone has been nonstop today. So, as we were saying, we'll remove the rest of the 13mm bolts. oil dripping on me. Alright. Alright, we'll have to come back to that one with the hand tool. And actually, I'll probably make that one our last one because this might just drop out of here. Because I honestly don't think this gasket is doing much of anything. So my guess is, as soon as there's no bolts, it's just going to drop, even though there's RTV in the corners. But I could be wrong. All right, we got a ratchet. I'm not really sure why my impact didn't take that out, but whatever. Tools anymore are junk. All right, it doesn't want to drop, so I'm gonna grab a little pry bar first before I take it out. That way, I don't have to walk away and let the oil pan drop when it wants to just fly out of here at 100 miles an hour and get broken. Then I gotta buy the customer a new oil pan. Oil to the face. Yuck. All right, that is all the bolts. All right, let's grab the pry bar, find a good little spot to give it a wiggle and see if we can get her done. There we go. All right. Then, hanging on by the, hanging on by the gasket. All right. Now the oil pan is out. Remove the rest of the gasket from back here. All right, so now we're going to take a scraper, and I know it's not a plastic razor blade, whatever people want to say, but now we're just going to go ahead and clean off the big chunks of our TV. All right, now we're going to take some brake clean and we'll go into spray it down a little by little and take some Scotch-Brite and clean the mating surface on the engine. Spend a little bit of time doing this, do it right. Because your reseal is only going to be as good as the time you put in actually cleaning to make sure you have a good, clean surface for it to seal. Alright, now we're at the parts washer. Took this, I guess like a strainer. What the heck is that? Anyways, like a strainer for food or something, but it's metal. So I put all the nuts and bolts and we're going to clean everything. So turn it on, take a brush. Now if you don't have a parts washer like this, you can always get go buy a small tote or something from Walmart. Grab a gallon of Purple Power. Mix up a little bit of solution in that said tote and clean all your parts. If you're doing it for yourself, this is optional. If you really don't care, if you just want it to not leak. If you're doing it for a customer, I would strongly recommend doing it and doing it right. Spend the extra time. That way they know they're paying whatever they're paying. They're getting their money's worth, and they'll keep coming back to you. Do it right and make it clean, and be reasonable on your pricing. They will come back. All right, now we'll take this stuff over to the oil drain. We'll blast with some brake clean, dry it off, and then we'll wash the oil pan. All right, now we got the oil pan in here. Same thing, just scrub her down. Then when we're done, we'll take it over to the oil drain, spray with brake clean to rinse it off. go and do it like this. Alright, just got done eating lunch. Now we're going to start with the oil pan. It's not perfectly clean, but we'll get it better once we get it on the truck. First thing we'll do is put in the new drain plug. Dorman 090175 CD is the OE style drain plug. I think now it's a 15 mil, not the 13 mil that it was. Correct. Now it's 15, so take the 15 ratchet and go ahead and there we go. Get that tightened up. Set it back on its backside. Now we're running an Acdelco Pan Gasket 12593592. And of course, they put a bag in a bag. Alright, and then the way this goes on, the two full circles go towards the rear of the pan. Like so. And then we'll just slide her down in the groove all the way around. And these molded gaskets, I try to stick with OE if available and reasonably priced, due to I've had Felpros, other brands where they'll be too long or too short just by a touch on one side, so you either wrinkle up or you have to like stretch it to get it to fully seat in. Now I know you can have that issue with OEs, but I have not ran into it. I find the OEs to fit very, very well. So now you have two options. We can put the RTV on here, or we can put it on the engine. I'm going to relocate the camera. I'm going to put it on the engine, wipe the engine down again, and then put the RTV on there, and then we'll slide the pan back on. All right, got the RTV, got the old Acdelco gray stuff. Let me grab my rag, forgot to wipe it down again. Now the biggest area to wipe down is going to be where you're going to put the RTV. So wipe it down there, wipe it off there. Make sure that's dry, make sure that's dry. And then you're going to put it in the corners on the front. Like that. If you can even see that, but come back here, we'll go around the bolt hole and then start going in the channel. I'll actually put a little bit in the channel too for where the rear is. All right. And I'll link this tool and everything down in the description to do this job. All right, wipe the end of this off. We got a little bit of oil on it. we'll take the pan and a couple of the bolts. Just like that. Start one on each side. And literally just get them started, let them bottom out. Then we'll get the torque spec and torque them. All right, oil pan's back on, everything's installed, knock sensors replugged back in. New oil filters on it, new drain plug has been verified that it's tight. Everything is hooked up, connected. The cross member is back in, so now we're just gonna lower it, put oil in it. Fire it up, we'll double check underneath, make sure there's nothing here that we might have messed up. Alright guys, hope you liked this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up. And don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell, so when I upload new videos, you'll be notified. So we'll see you next week.